In less than 10 minutes, I'm going to take you from not knowing anything about growing prepared hyacinth bulbs to having success with them every single time. I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes to avoid, and I'm going to teach you step by step how to plant and care for them in 3 different ways so that you can have beautiful blooms and that incredible spring fragrance. Sounds good? Let's get started. Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back. If you have never grown indoor hyacinths before, you're in for a treat. They're one of the easiest and most rewarding things that you can grow in the colder months of winter. Imagine, while it's dark and wet outside, having pots of really richly scented flowers filling your house with a real knockout, fresh, sweet fragrance. And the best part? You can get them started right now for blooms around Christmas or New Year. Prepared hyacinths come in a whole spectrum of colours, from crisp whites and soft yellows all the way through to deep purples, cherry reds and those, I suppose, classic sky blue shades. But whatever colour you go for, they all share one thing: an incredible, unmistakable fragrance. I've got a whole selection and we're going to plant them together. Okay, do not, whatever you do, skip this bit, because this is where I see so many people go wrong, and this is only going to take 30 seconds to explain to you. You want to make sure that what you're buying is not the wrong type of hyacinth bulb, so let's start with the basics. When you head into the garden centre or you look online, you're going to find all sorts of hyacinth bulbs piled high, as well as tulips, crocuses, daffodils, but the ones that you're after are clearly labelled prepared hyacinths. That word prepared is really important. It means that the bulbs have been heat treated by growers to mimic that natural chilling that they'd experience outdoors, and in short, they've been tricked into thinking that winter has already happened, so that as soon as you plant them and give them a little bit of warmth, they really spring into action, ready to root, shoot and flower. So remember, look out for the word prepared. Before we plant though, one quick safety note, because I don't want you to learn this the hard way and I don't want to get in trouble. Hyacinth bulbs can sometimes cause skin irritation to some gardeners. I can handle them perfectly fine, but some people do develop a rash or itching after touching the bulbs with bare hands. So if you're unsure or if you have sensitive skin, just wear gloves whenever you're picking up or touching the bulbs. Most good garden centres will even handily leave plastic gloves next to the bulb bins for exactly that reason. Right, method 1 is growing hyacinths in a bulb jar. This is pretty much the classic way to grow hyacinths and probably the absolute easiest. Most garden centres that sell prepared hyacinths will also have these little bulb jars sitting right next to them. Do you see how the neck is really narrow but it splays out towards the top? They're shaped so that when you put the bulb in, it rests neatly at the top without falling any deeper. So all you need to do is fill the jar with water until it sits just below the base of the bulb, not touching it, because if the base of the bulb sits in water, it's going to rot. But otherwise, that's it. Truly simple, stylish, done. Then the next stage is so easy and lazy that you wouldn't believe. But before I show you, I've got 2 other great ways to plant hyacinths. So now we've got the bulb jar done, I want to show you method number 2. And I'm going to come around and show you from here. Method number 2 is growing hyacinths in a decorative jar or a vase. If you want something that little bit more creative, or maybe a homemade gift idea, this is a really lovely option. Take a nice glass jar, maybe a Kilner jar or a mason jar if you want something small, or something larger like this for a bit of character, and fill the base with clean pebbles or gravel. Take your bulbs, sit them on top, and I'm going to put 3 in here. See how they sit in really nicely? Then all you need to do is add a little bit more gravel, and what you're doing is you're filling that gravel in around so that it holds the bulbs snugly in place, so that as they start to grow, they're not going to start moving. And what you want to do is you want to fill that gravel up to a level that means that the bulbs are held nice and snugly, but the tips are just exposed. You see the level that I'm filling it to? That is what we're looking for. Pour in some water until the level of the water sits just below the base of the bulb. Remember, just like the bulb jar, we didn't want the bulb base sitting submerged. This is exactly the same story. Don't let the water touch the bottom of the bulb. What's going to happen is the roots are going to automatically start searching for the water themselves, and once they reach it, they really take off. This is oddly satisfying when you grow them this way, because you're actually going to get to see the roots develop. They weave through the stones and around the jar, which is kind of decorative in itself. Now, these, just like the bulb jar, are ready for the next step. But before we skip ahead to show you what the next step is, I want to show you the third really solid and easy way to grow hyacinths indoors. While we're on the topic of hyacinths, I've teamed up again with J. Parker's to bring you another brilliant discount code, something special for you. I'm really glad to be able to keep this going, especially at this time of year when bulbs like these, they are at their best. So, if you're looking for prepared hyacinth bulbs to grow indoors, J. Parker's have an absolutely brilliant range. This is only a few of them. All sorts of colours and varieties, from those deep purples and blues to bright whites and cherry reds. These ones that I'm holding, it's a selection from the J. Parker's selection that's available, and what I love is how plump, healthy and ready to go they are straight out of the box. You can tell that they've been properly prepared, properly stored, and it means that you've got the best chance of getting strong shoots and those beautiful fragrant flowers when they bloom. And that goes for everything they sell, because of course they've got so much more than just hyacinth bulbs. I have found their quality consistently high and their delivery consistently fast, and I've used them for a few years now. So if you fancy giving these a go, head over to jparkers.co.uk or jparkers.com, and don't forget to use my discount code Niall15 at checkout for 15% off your order. It's a great way to stock up, save a bit of cash and fill your garden and your home with colour. Right, let's get set up for the third and final method. And method 3 is growing hyacinths in compost or bulb fibre, and this one is perfect if you prefer that really classic potted look. You can use any small pot or even a basket if you line it with plastic. The big thing is you can even use spent compost, because these bulbs don't really need a lot of nutrients. They'll grow in pebbles and water, so spent compost is more than enough. If your pot doesn't have a drainage hole, make sure to use something called bulb fibre instead of normal compost. What this is a special mix that's got charcoal, and by adding the charcoal it means that even if it sits damp and a little bit waterlogged, it doesn't go all yucky. When it comes to it, bulb fibre is kind of the ultimate way to grow these, but I generally do just use compost. So what I do is I press them onto the surface of the compost, keeping them nice and close together, but with a little bit of room, pretty much about the same spacing apart as they are wide. So you can see I've got 3 in this container. And then all I need to do, a bit like with the gravel, is start to infill with some extra compost, pushing it and tamping it in around each of the bulbs to get them nicely secured. And again, just like with the gravel, what we're aiming to do here is make sure that the bulbs are covered, but not completely, just enough that the tips are exposed. That is exactly what you're looking for. Tamp it down, give it a little bit of water, and you're pretty much ready to go. Another pitfall to avoid, which is so obvious, but you will thank me later, is label your bulbs. But more importantly, keep them in separate bags. If you're growing more than one variety, like I am, or more than one colour, and you have maybe a planting scheme planned, you do not want to mess all of that up. For instance, white and yellow flowering varieties, the bulbs look very similar, and the purple and blue varieties, they look very similar. It's the same story, so make sure to take that little bit of time and write a label, even if all you do is pop it into the side or sit it on top just to remind you. Now, next step, it's time to give your hyacinths the cold shoulder. Whichever method of growing them you choose, the next step is the same. Put your planted bulbs somewhere cold and dark ideally below 10 degrees Celsius. A shed, garage, or an old porch is perfect. Then just leave them there for between 4 to 10 weeks. That is when all the magic happens without you having to do anything at all. During that cold, dark period, roots are going to start to form and eventually thick, stubby green shoots are going to appear. Check them about once a week, and when those shoots are about 5 centimetres tall, then it's time to bring them indoors for the big reveal. You've planted them up, you've given them the cold spell, and now it's time to really get these things growing. So as I tidy up, I'm going to tell you what to expect. Once these have started shooting to about 5 centimetres, you bring your hyacinths into a cool, bright room, and then within a couple of weeks, they're going to rocket upwards and start to flower. It's honestly one of the most satisfying gardening moments that you can have indoors. Seeing those little 5 centimetre shoots suddenly come alive and explode into bloom. Well, if you've got kids or friends who don't garden, it really is a brilliant one to share with them. It's visual, it's quick, and it's full of that big wow factor. Now granted, these flowers, they're going to be pretty gaudy, definitely not demure, but that's kind of what I love about them. They shout rather than whisper, and in the middle of the winter, sometimes that is perfect. And when they finish flowering, don't throw these bulbs away. You can't force the same indoor bulbs again for another big bloom. But what you can do is once they've finished flowering and they've died back, you can plant them out into the garden. Then next spring, they're going to come up with smaller flowers, but they will keep reappearing year after year, a little reminder of your effort. And it's a lovely way to make sure that you get amazing value out of each bulb. What I do is I force a few prepared ones each year indoors, then add them out into the garden, slowly increasing my numbers. So that's it. 3 easy ways to grow indoor hyacinths. They really are quick, cheap, and ridiculously rewarding. If you give it a go, let me know how yours turn out, and also leave a comment if you've grown them before. I'd love to hear about it. And if you're still in the mood for some great gardening how-tos and inspiration, don't stop at this video. Check out this video next because you're sure to enjoy it. And until next time, see you later.